So in addition to sowing seeds by hand, you may also find cause to think about investing in a vacuum seeder to increase the efficiency of some of your greenhouse operations. Vacuum seeders come in a variety of forms and costs. On the very low end of the spectrum, you could build one yourself from readily available materials and a very small shop vac, and pretty much have a ready-to-go finished product for somewhere between $50 and $100. May not have quite the same function and adaptability, but still a very affordable way to think about doing sowings on a relatively large scale with great efficiency. Next step up in the sort of cost spectrum, Johnny Selected Seeds sells a vacuum seeder designed for the 1020 style trays, and the excuse me. And the base unit for that costs about $570, and then the individual seed plates that are drilled for specific seed sizes and the trays that you're working with, those plates run anywhere from about $220 to $290 each. Depending on your operation, you might only need one tray, or one seed plate, excuse me. You might need 4 or 5 different seed plates. In our instance, because we grow many, many different seedlings, we have actually 5 different seed plates for this vacuum seeder here. This one's a bit more expensive. This was about $2,200 for the base unit, and then a little bit more for this for the mechanism here that allows us to hinge it back and forth, and I'll go through all of those processes in just a moment. And then we have 5 different seed plates here that range in size. The holes on these range in size from fairly large, this is for chard and other crops, all the way down to the opposite end of the spectrum. This plate, the holes are so small you can barely see them, and yet with the power of the vacuum and the seeds moving back and forth on the plate, this can be very, very effective for small seeded crops. So let me give you, before we actually turn the vacuum on, let me give you a little bit of a rundown of how this works and how this flows as a system. So the efficiencies come with a number of things. First of all, I'll have all my seed ready to go, my labels ready to go, my trays pre-filled and pre-dibbled and stacked up and ready for sowing. And then I am going to take the seed that I'm going to use, and I will show this more clearly in a moment, but I'm going to dump the seed in here, and I am going to turn the vacuum on and then go back and forth, and the seed will roll, and eventually I will have seeds in every single hole. I would also have already slid into place my tray. Once the seed is sown, or once the seed is in place and being held and ready to go, my tray is lined up. I tip it over. I press this lever here, which causes the vacuum pressure to diminish, and then the seed drops. You may also take a rubber mallet to encourage the rest of the seed to drop if any is still clinging, and then you can push that tray right out, push the next tray in place, and then roll the vacuum back again. It's been running this whole time. Go back and forth until I have seed on my entire plate. Drop it over, cut vacuum pressure, drop seed, push that one out, and continue the process. With round seed, pelletized seeds and round seed like the brassica family, this can be an incredibly efficient process, much, much faster than sowing by hand. With oblong seed, things like cucumbers, and irregular seed like tomatoes and peppers, for example, it is still more efficient than sowing by hand, but instead of maybe being 5 or 6 times more efficient, it may only be double the speed at which you might sow by hand if you're sowing into individual cells. But still a huge time savings. Is it worth it to you? In terms of the cost of investment, I would say that's fundamentally a question of the scale on which you're working and the number of trays that you're sowing. If I'm sowing 20 trays but 1 tray of each variety, Then I'm going to have a lot of time with setup and breakdown between each variety. Dumping the seeds in, sowing the seeds quick, dumping the seeds out, sowing the seeds, and then extracting those seeds off the plate, putting a new and different variety in, sowing my one tray, extracting the seeds, moving on again to the next variety. Then I'm going to lose some of the efficiency that I might have being able to really gain if I'm sowing multiple trays of the same variety. That's where the real speed of a tool like this comes in, whether you do a DIY on your own or whether you pay for a little bit more expensive off-the-shelf type of unit. So now we're going to actually show the function of the vacuum seeder in action. First thing I want to say is ear protection. Very critical when you're using an instrument like this that makes a goodly amount of noise. You really want to think about protecting your ears. So I'll get myself set up there. If you look here, I'm going to be sliding trays here. I've got a mark here and a mark here that help me put the tray in just the right place, along with these two built-in guide rails. That's going to allow me each time to line up my tray right where I need it to be. I have my next tray in place, ready to go. And now I'm going to turn the vacuum on, and then I'm going to take a bunch of seed and dump it on the tray and begin the process of sowing this first tray. One thing I want to say is that when we use a vacuum seeder, part of where the efficiency comes is by making sure you have an excess of seed in place. That allows you to go back and forth like this to fill every cell. And to find the cells like there, I had missed one. I see a few more over here. So I'm going to go back and forth. I'm going to brush a few over here, catch those cells, and stand it up and try to get all my excess seed down in this reservoir. And give a little tap so that any extra seeds get out of the way. I'm going to give it a quick look to make sure everybody has a seed for every cell. There's one missing there, so find myself another seed here. Looking good. Tip it over. Cut the vacuum. Give a little tap. Tip it up. Make sure I did in fact drop all of the seeds. It looks like I did. Then this tray will come out. Next tray goes in. Lined up just so. I'm going to make sure the seed's pretty well spread in the plate. Back and forth a little bit. I know I need some seed over on this side, so I'm just going to sometimes the hammer isn't as effective as just a little gentle brushing. Everything looks good. All my cells are done. And I just sewed two 242 cell trays in relatively short order. I will need to come back and get these seeds out of here, but the next thing I wanted to do was just show you really quickly our covering and filling process. I'm going to take just a little bit of soil and just go back and forth over the top of the seeds. A handful or two is probably plenty. And then maybe just really lightly brush back and forth to make sure everybody's covered. I'll put this over here in my stack of trays. Another technique that some folks like to use, which I think can work really well, is to take a handful of soil and then do what we just call a smear technique. You put it down and you literally just smear it over the surface. And that can work really well too. You have to be a little bit careful. If your seeds are sitting on the surface, you might dislocate them or move them from cell to cell. But as long as they've landed in your dibble, you should be good to go. And now we're ready to take our trays into the greenhouse, water them in, and begin the germination process.